Welcome back. Here is a reminder of our top stories. INEC party officials inspect, take inventory of sensitive materials at Central Bank of Nigeria, Benin, ahead of governorship election in Edo State on Saturday. Food and Agricultural Organization raises alarm over increasing impact of floods on food security. Outside Nigeria, Lebanon on edge after thousands of electronic devices exploded in 2 days. And in sport, Arsenal begin Champions League campaign with a visit to Atalanta in Italy after last season's quarter-final finish. Nations has raised alarm over escalating floods in Nigeria, which is now exacerbating the already deteriorating food insecurity situation in the country. According to the FAO representative ad interim, Kofi Kwachu, these floods, which have affected 29 states, are displacing thousands, destroying farmland and claiming lives. Reports have it that as of early September, more than 2.5 million people have been impacted, with around 200,000 displaced. As floods continue to push vulnerable communities deeper into poverty and the widespread loss of farmland will severely affect food security. The FAO says it is deeply concerned about the potential for increased hunger, as nearly 31.8 million Nigerians are already at risk of acute food insecurity. For more on this, let's bring in an agribusiness specialist, Dr. Tony Bello, who joins me from Abuja Studios. Thank you for joining us on TVC News at 1. How worried are you about this warning, and how seriously should it be taken?
This is a very, very serious warning, and my heartfelt condolences to the flood victims in Borno State, especially the Maiduguri area. And I want to compliment and congratulate the leadership from the national leadership with the Vice President, His Excellency Kashim Shettima, visiting the site, and the leadership that is on the ground by the governor of Borno State, His Excellency Governor Babagana Zulum. These are very encouraging things. I am an eternal optimist, and I believe some good will come out of this, no matter what it may look like today.
Well, President Tinubu has also visited, Borno State to commiserate with the people. But talking about this warning coming from the FAO now, it is calling for coordinated action to prevent a worsening humanitarian crisis. How well do you think we are responding to this call?
Well, again, you just indicated, thanks to His Excellency, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, his leadership is the key to success when it comes to coordination and coordinating the efforts that are ongoing on the ground. I took some notes, some suggestions and recommendations. The federal funding and resource mobilization will be a key. The national strategic grain reserve of the country must be tapped into at this point. Coordinated central effort to de-risk and mitigate all kinds of risk factors. Utilization of the food grain reserve, as I indicated. Legislative support and regulatory framework is important. He has started excellently with the advocacy and public awareness. We need to keep the victims comfortable with short-term and medium-term measures, but most importantly, the long-term, which would include international engagement and knowledge exchange on emergency management responses that have worked elsewhere. I compare Maiduguri to the state of New York. I can only imagine the livestock capital of the United States is the equivalent of Maiduguri in Nigeria or Borno State. Livestock is a critical, important aspect that must not be overlooked.
Indeed. You have said some things really about what can be done. But this now seems to be more about the victims of this particular flood situation in Maiduguri, Borno State. But as it is, the warning coming from the FAO is something that borders not just Borno State. And so I'm wondering about what specific steps you think we must take to help farmers to develop agriculture and to ensure food security in Nigeria, especially in the face of climate change.
I didn't quite hear the last part of the question, but the first part is all hands must be on deck. The leadership from the presidency to the governorship across the states, it's time for us all to come together, the legislative arm of government. We're actually in an emergency situation with the COVID, which was exacerbated by the war in Ukraine. And now, while we are rebuilding global infrastructure, we are seeing the devastating effect of climate change, as well as weak infrastructure that has not been maintained, that has not been revamped for years. So it's time for all hands to be on deck. And it starts at the leadership of the country. Private sector mobilization is the key. I was very happy to hear this morning also one of the foremost business and richest man in Africa, Aliko Dangote, made some donations through the committee that he chairs at the government level, but also from his foundation. What we want to advocate for as a technocrat is that all hands must be on deck in infrastructure investments, as well as agribusiness investments and capacity development. Whether you are a technocrat or a politician, at whatever capacity, we all have a role to play here. Financing of projects, even bringing in investors. This is the silver lining, that there's opportunity to actually take advantage of this devastation to rebuild not just Borno State, but across Nigeria. And we've seen examples of this before. What comes to mind for me as a technocrat is in 2012, the flooding that happened in the central region of Nigeria actually led to the dry season famine of rice and maize and heat-tolerant and heat-resistant, flood-resistant varieties of sorghum and millet. We need to take that program to scale through irrigation systems and what have you. But all hands must be on deck at whatever level, because what affects our brothers also affects our household.
It does. Agribusiness specialist Dr. Tony Bello, thank you for talking to us on TVC News at 1.
Thank you for the invite, Abosede.
For other stories. Residents of Jos, the Plateau State capital, say they are pleased with the introduction of the Tin City Metropolitan Bus Service. A flat rate of 200 naira is charged as transport fare in all parts of the state capital to ease the economic hardship. Senior report